Okay, what do you believe to be the most important training that any person in the food service industry could ever receive? What do you think it is? Drop it in the comments. I'll wait. Well, I won't wait that long. Food training in food safety is got to be the most important thing. I mean, you could have speed of service. You could have that down fast. I mean, like everybody's getting their food fast. You could have order accuracy. Everybody's getting the right food and they're getting it fast. You could get the courtesy. Your customer satisfaction scores are just so high. The food prep standards can be amazing. Hospitality scores can be increased. And all of those are important. But what can shut the restaurant down is getting anybody sick because you're using poor food safety protocols. And the proper measures have to be getting. None of us, anyone in the food service industry, you would feel horrible if because of your food safety protocols were so poor and you got somebody sick, it would be very difficult to forgive yourself. You'd be bummed out. So we don't want to have that, right? So it's the responsibility of a director, of the operator, the store leaders to ensure that everybody has been trained on the team in food safety. And of course, what's going to be the guidelines in your restaurant is going to be maybe different than any other restaurant, because I'm going to offer a list here, and with every list, understand that the list is not going to be exhaustive. The list is not going to be exclusive, right? In other words, there's other stores that are going to be needing something else specific catered to their store. But at least here's some things that I would include. If you're going to develop a food safety training program, you need to have at least these 12 items on there, maybe more for your store, but probably not less, because everybody's going to be faced with these. So the first thing that I think is hand washing. That is so important. Everybody on the team needs to know how to wash their hands. They need to know the practice. It's interesting that when you go into somebody's home, they're not using soap. You don't see the soap laying around in the dispensers around their bathrooms or at their kitchen sink, and that's unless it's dish soap. So we got to train people in washing their hands. They need to be doing it effectively, and they need to be doing it consistently, not just efficient. Like, I just wet my hand real quick, rinse my hands off. No, there's something, you got to wash them. You got to lather up all the way past the wrists, and you're supposed to maybe even do the bear claw. Everybody needs to know about these things, okay? So the number one thing that I would say on your food safety protocols, you need to teach people how to wash their hands. Number two, I think you need to have maybe a little bit of safety on the chemicals that you're using. Many stores and franchises refuse to have bleach in there, or they won't have some type of chemical because they're just so afraid of that chemical getting cross-contaminated into somebody's food, so they don't have those kinds of harsh chemicals there. But how to store them, how to handle them, how to not mix them, the right ones, and how to use them properly. That should be a part of the training. Thirdly, sickness. Sickness in food safety is so important because when I came up, I mean, just because you had a fever didn't mean that you missed work. Nowadays, you should miss work because you've got fever, vomiting, or diarrhea. We call that the terrible three. And so if you get one of those terrible three, then that's a recipe for disaster, because it could spread. It means that there's something going on amiss in your body, and you could get others sick. And so you can contaminate food that way. And so we want to steer clear of that. So on your food safety, you need to have hand washing, chemicals. Also the sickness. How about this one? Gloves. Using gloves. How to use them properly, and how just because you have gloves on doesn't mean that you can touch the garbage can and touch somebody's food at the same time. I got gloves on. No, that's you can't do that. You need to make sure you're changing them periodically, and that you're washing your hands in between those glove changes. Also, trash and waste removal. Understand when and how to take out the trash, and how to wash up and scrub up afterwards. How about this? Time stamping, or what you'd prefer to be called as day dots. There's got to be a system for first in, first out, rotating, because that's all about food safety. How about this one? Number 7, temperature. What's the temperature of the food before you serve it? What's the temperature of the storage room? What's the temperature of the walk-in? What's the temperature of the steam table? All of those are very, very important. And then how about this one? Sanitization. Having your tables, your counters, your equipment all sanitized is important. And then this one misses a lot of kitchens that I find their vents, the hood vent or else they're if they have an air conditioning system in the kitchen, those vents, if there's dust on those need to be taken down and they need to be cleaned at least once a month because of the dust that can collect on them, maybe even ceiling tiles that can collect on them and it can fall into somebody's food. And this is just about food safety, so it needs to be considered. And then also number 10, cross-contamination. This is something that everybody's going to have a little bit different take on this one probably, but there's going to be some cross-contamination between chemicals and if the nozzle's facing the food, it can be easily sprayed into the food and that can contaminate. But also there's certain, like having chicken near the you're washing things in the same sink that you rinse out your vegetables. That could be a cross-contamination. Then also number 11, the cooling process. So when you cook up meat, and you're going to, maybe it's going to be going into cold salads, and there's a cool down process, temperature that's got to be reached for that meat to cool down before you can actually put it in the refrigerator. And so making sure that people are following that protocol. And then the last one is just vendor deliveries. Ensuring that when your vendors come into your kitchen, understand that you're doing all that you can to ensure a safe, food safe environment. Make sure your vendors are following the same protocols as they're delivering you your products. So all of these things, all 12 of these things that I mentioned, need to give some consideration to this because it is the most important training that you can give anybody in your restaurant is food safety, not getting people sick. Your best bet is to create a food safety culture rather than a food safety program.